All right, guys. So these are all monomials. Remember, all monomials go through the origin every single time. So obviously you have your linear parent function, and your linear parent function just looks like this. And guys, it goes to the origin, yes, because it's a monomial, but it goes straight through. There's no crazy, weird behavior going on at that x-intercept. So if you look at the next one's a quadratic. What kind of shape is that? And what kind of shape is that?
U.
Yes. Y'all, the reason why it's a U is because this graph bounces off the x-intercept. But y'all, we're in pre-cal. We can't say the word bounce. It touches the x-axis at exactly 1 point. But we have to use a geometry term. What does it mean when it touches something exactly at 1 point? It starts with the letter T. Tangent. Very good. Great job. So that's tangent. And then there's some weirdness happening once you get to a higher odd degree past 1. So x to the third, we all know that's cubic. Y'all, what happens is there's a change in concavity. And all that means as it approaches the y-intercept, it looks like that, not the y-intercept, the x-intercept. But as soon as it hits the x-axis, it flips upside down. And it goes like that. So it almost looks like the top of a circle right here, and then the bottom of a circle on the other side. And I did a horrible job of drawing that concavity, but that's okay, because I'm going to label it CC, change in concavity. And that way I know that I've labeled the behavior around the x-intercept correctly.
What does this stand for?
Straight through.
Straight?
Straight through. Just straight through. No weird behavior. All right. So to graph polynomial functions of a higher degree, look for the largest exponent. Guys, I'm going to use these words interchangeably. If I say degree and highest exponent, they both mean the same thing. You've got to remember, if it is even, the end behavior is going to behave like a parabola, which is either up, up, or down, down. If the degree is odd, then the end behavior is going to be opposite. So it's either going to be down, up, or up, down. And then y'all look at your paper and read the sentence under that. So the sentence under that says this: if the coefficient that goes with the largest exponent is negative, the graph is reflected across the x-axis. So I'm not really going to say, hey, where's the reflection at? Because we're focused on graphing, which means if it leads with a negative, you have to remember it's down on the right, guys. If it leads with a negative, it's down on the right. That's how your graphs have to be. All right, let's go ahead and start graphing. Look at letter A. So for letter A, we are going to graph a function that has an odd degree. It has a degree of 5. So my arrows are going to be in opposite direction. When I read this graph, I don't see a negative. That's not the first thing I see. So I know it's going to be up on the right, down on the left. It has to look like that. It does have a horizontal translation, though. It moved 2 units. Which way?
Right.
That's right. So guys, I'm going to put the x-intercept right there. I'm going to label it a positive 2. And then I'm just going to sketch my curve. Everything is a sketch. If you sketched your graph and yours was like that, it's still going to be right. The way that you're going to get full credit is you're going to label your 2, and I'm just going to make sure your arrows are in the direction that it should be. So remember, these are all just sketches. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. So for the next one, do you see parentheses? Hang on a moment. Do you see parentheses in letter B? I'll see parentheses, which means there's no sideways movement. But I do see a negative. which means, is it up or down on the right side? It's down. If you have a negative, it doesn't matter what the degree is, it's always going to be down on the right. Speaking of the degree is going to tell me the direction on the other side. What is the degree? Even. It's 4, it's even, which means it has the same in behavior. So if I drew a down arrow on that side, I have to draw a down arrow on the other side. So we didn't see parentheses. I know there's no sideways movement, but y'all, there is vertical movement. This graph has been shifted one place below the origin. And it behaves like a parabola, which means it's going to look like this. Letter C is such a lame-o teacher gotcha. Nobody's going to fall for letter C. Let's write it in the correct order. So it's going to be f of x equals negative x to the third, and then the 4 goes there. So if you notice, there are still not any parentheses, which means there's not any sideways movement. However, the first thing I see is a negative. So if you see a negative, what does that tell you? Down on the right. What's the degree? Even or odd?
Odd.
Has to be up on the left. So remember, this is just a cubic that's been reflected that has that weird looking swirl thing 4 places above the origin. So it's going to look like that because you had a translation of 4 units up. All right, if you look at letter D finally has H and K. What is HK on letter D? Yes. -7, +3 is going to have a vertex somewhere in the second quadrant. That's -7, 3. I don't see a negative sign, so I know it's going to be up on the right side. What kind of direction is it going to be on the left side? What is the degree, odd or even? It's a 6, so it's pointing up on both sides. Which means the graph is going to look like this. Which means when you guys graph this stuff in Unit 2, sometimes you're not going to have any real x-intercepts, but you are always going to have a y-intercept. Every single graph that you do in here for this unit in that cute little pink packet is going to have a y-intercept. But an x-intercept, not so much. Here, guys, we're not graphing. I am just going to make sure you understand what you are reading when you look at these problems. So on letter A, we need to find the leading term. Guys, the leading term is just the term with the highest degree. So for letter A, the leading term is just going to be 3x to the 4th. Look at letter B. Don't fall for my lame-o. There's another lame-o teacher trick. What is the leading term? Which one has the highest degree? -2x to the 7th. Don't fall for it. Don't do it. Okay, let me back up to letter A. So my lead term, I am going to write right here, 3x to the 4th. What is the degree? Even. So is it up, or down, down? Up. And then, guys, what is the y-intercept? Very good. 0, -1. Letter B. For the leading term, we are just going to write -2x to the 7th. In behavior is going to be 2 arrows in different directions. So is it down, up, or up, down?
Down.
Totally up, down. And then, y'all, the y-intercept. Does every term there have an x? No. If every term here has an x, it goes to the origin. 0, 0. So the leading coefficient is -x to the 3rd. Ooh, a leading negative and an odd degree. What's the end behavior? Up, down. Down on the right. Opposite behavior. The y-intercept, guys, somebody factored a polynomial and it had a GCF of an x. See how there's an x out in the front? If it's x out in the front, it went through the origin.